Even though it occurred just before the year 2000, very few crimes in Hong Kong have drawn as much attention as the Hello Kitty murder. It's a case that has haunted the city for decades. A crime so disturbing, it shook the nation and became one of the most infamous murders in history. The world might never have known about it at all, if not for one visit to a Hong Kong police station by a young girl. This girl's story, mixed with guilt and terror, would unravel one of the darkest, most gruesome story ever to surface. Today, we're talking about one of the most horrific crimes ever to happen in Hong Kong, where the decapitated head of a 23-year-old woman, Fan Man-yee, was found stuffed inside a Hello Kitty doll. Yes, a cute, innocent Hello Kitty doll. But what happened inside that doll and to that woman is far from innocent. But before we get to the horrifying details, we have to understand how Fan Man-yee ended up in this nightmare. Her story, like so many tragic stories, starts with hardship. Born in 1976, Fan was abandoned by her family as a child, and like countless children in similar situations, she ended up in an orphanage in Hong Kong. This place, while it provided shelter, wasn't a home. It wasn't a place of love. It was cold, institutional, a place where survival was the only thing she could focus on. By the time she was 15, Fan had reached the age where the orphanage could no longer keep her. Due to age restrictions, she was kicked out with nothing. No formal education, no real skills, and no support system. The streets became her new home. Now, think about it. 15 years old, and she was left to fend for herself. Homeless, vulnerable, and alone. What options did she have? With no education, no family, and no prospects, Fan was forced into a life that many young women in her situation face. She became a prostitute, trying to survive day by day, selling her body just to get by. But that wasn't all. Like many people who find themselves trapped in this lifestyle, Fan developed an addiction to drugs. Her life spiraled further and further into darkness. For years, she wandered through this brutal existence, barely scraping by. By 1997, she had reached her early 20s, and life had not improved. She started working at a nightclub called Roman Villa, located in Sham Shui Po, one of the rougher districts in Hong Kong. The place was seedy, filled with shady characters, but it provided Fan with some form of income. At Roman Villa, Fan met a man named Uni Yen, another addict, just like her. They eventually got married. They even had a son together in 1999, but their relationship was far from peaceful. Both Fan and Uni were addicted to drugs, and their marriage was a constant battle. Fights were common. Their life was filled with instability, but despite it all, Fan tried to hold on for her child. She wanted to provide something better for her son, but unfortunately, things would only get worse. In early 1997, Fan crossed paths with someone who would ultimately lead her to her doom, a 34-year-old man named Chan Man Lok. He was a member of the notorious Wo Xing Wo Triad, a dangerous criminal organization in Hong Kong. Chan was not just an average criminal. He was deeply involved in the underworld, a drug dealer, a pimp, and a man who had no qualms about using violence to get what he wanted. For Fan, meeting Chan was like stepping into a snake pit. At first, it may have seemed like an opportunity. She was a prostitute and an addict, while Chan was a pimp and a drug dealer. It might have seemed like a match made in hell, but Fan's desperation and addiction blinded her to the danger she was walking into. Before long, Fan became a regular fixture in Chan's world. She worked for him, and he supplied her with the drugs she so desperately needed. But in early 1999, Fan made a fatal mistake, one that would cost her everything. One day, after a drug-fueled session with Chan, Fan stole 4,000 Hong Kong dollars from him. Now, $4,000 might not sound like a lot, but in Chan's world, it was about much more than the money. It was about respect. In the underworld, stealing from someone like Chan wasn't just a crime. It was a personal insult, a challenge to his authority. When Chan discovered that his money was missing, he was furious. And he didn't just want the $4,000 back. Chan demanded that Fan return the money plus an additional 10,000 Hong Kong dollars as compensation. Fan was terrified. She didn't have that kind of money. She managed to return the stolen amount, but she couldn't come up with the extra $10,000 Chan demanded. She begged for more time, hoping that Chan would show her some mercy. But there was no mercy coming. Chan had already decided that Fan would pay, not just with money, but with her life. On March 17, 1999, Chan made his move. He ordered 2 of his henchmen, Leong Shing-cho, a 26-year-old man, and Leong Wai-lun, a 21-year-old, to kidnap Fan. Along with them was Ah Fong, a 14-year-old girl who was Chan's girlfriend at the time. Yes, a 14-year-old, already wrapped up in this world of drugs, violence, and crime. Together, the 3 of them abducted Fan and transported her to an apartment on Granville Road, about 10 kilometers away from her home. This apartment would become a house of horrors. Over the next month, Fan would endure unimaginable suffering. Inside that grim, filthy apartment, Fan was subjected to a level of cruelty that is hard to comprehend. Chan and his men began to systematically torture her. They beat her with metal bars, sometimes while she was strung up, hung from the ceiling like a human punching bag. They kicked her repeatedly in the head. On one occasion, Ah Fong, the 14-year-old girl, watched as Chan kicked Fan 50 times in the head. 50 times. And if that wasn't enough, Ah Fong herself joined in, hitting Fan, treating the horrific violence like some twisted game. But the physical beatings were just the beginning of Fan's torment. They burned her with candle wax and hot plastic, leaving her legs and feet covered in burns so severe that she couldn't walk. Eventually, Fan's body couldn't take it anymore. After weeks of continuous torture, she finally died. Some reports say she died while her captors were out of the apartment. Others say she passed away overnight after one final beating. Either way, her death didn't bring her peace. Because even in death, her captors did not stop. When they discovered that Fan had died, they decided to get rid of her body. But instead of simply disposing of her remains, they chose to dismember her. They cut her body into pieces with a saw. And then, in one of the most disturbing details of this case, they boiled her body parts. Yes, they boiled her remains on the same stove where they cooked their dinner. While they were preparing their meals, they boiled her bones. As if this was just another chore, just another day in their twisted world. They disposed of her body piece by piece, throwing her remains out with the household garbage. But they didn't get rid of everything. Chan and his men kept one part of Fan's body, her head. In a horrifying, almost surreal act, they stuffed her decapitated head into an oversized Hello Kitty mermaid doll, and they left it there, in the apartment, as if it was just another decoration. It was this Hello Kitty doll that would later give this case its infamous name, the Hello Kitty murder. For over a month, Fan's remains lay undiscovered, until May 24th, 1999. That's when Ah Fong, the 14-year-old girl who had helped torture Fan, walked into a Hong Kong police station. By this time, Ah Fong had been plagued with nightmares, haunted by the ghost of the woman she had helped kill. She told the police that she was being haunted, that she couldn't sleep, that she kept seeing the face of a woman bound with electrical wires, tortured to death. At first, the police didn't take her seriously. They thought she was just a scared teenager making things up. But as she continued to talk, they realized something more sinister was at play. Ah Fong finally confessed, saying she had been involved in the murder of a woman and that the body was hidden in the apartment. The police followed her to the location, and when they entered the apartment, they found it just as she described, full of Hello Kitty memorabilia. But in the middle of it all, they found the decapitated skull of Fan Man-yee, sewn inside the oversized Hello Kitty doll. Other parts of Fan's body were recovered from trash dumps around the area. The discovery sent shockwaves through Hong Kong, the brutality, the senseless cruelty. It was almost too much to comprehend. In late 2000, the trial for Chan, his henchmen, and Ah Fong began. Although the jury couldn't convict them of murder because of the condition of Fan's remains, they were found guilty of manslaughter. They were sentenced to life in prison. Ah Fong, the young girl who had confessed to the police, was granted immunity for her testimony. Even today, the Hello Kitty murder remains one of the most horrifying crimes ever committed, a chilling reminder of how far human cruelty can go. Thank you for joining us today. If you found this story impactful, please like the video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Until next time, stay safe and take care.